So my theory is that learning the basics of building and using components in code will be easier and more intuitive than using something like a CMS that has components being built indirectly with a longer feedback loop to understand how things are working and lower confidence that what you did in the CMS is actually what you wanted visually. So we're going to be looking into how to build a component and getting this short feedback loop visually and understand the basics. My favorite component framework today is something called Astro. Website is astro.build. It's a place for learning how to use the project. We start with the documentation, and we're going to do the basic steps over here to get started. So first, in this PR pull request, I made a change to delete all of the code. So right now, if you look at make this visible, we have branches. We talked about this before. The main branch is production website. We have now a redesign branch with nothing in it, right? It's completely empty. The only thing in it is the Git repository. And so we look at this, we have a .git directory, and that has all the information about all the code changes. And so we're completely empty right now. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a new Astro project by using this command over here, which will give us a wizard, ask us a bunch of questions, and then create the template. So, great, we have the launch sequence initiated. Where do we want the project? Dot is going to be current directory, which is where we want it. Sample files included? No, we want to start with an empty project. TypeScript yes, please. Strict mode, dependencies, great. And so we can see what is happening. We have these files now in our directory. So before it was empty, and now, let's close these actually. Now we have some stuff over here. In public, we have a fave icon with an SVG. Source directory has pages directory with a home page with some stuff in it. We have config, dependencies, some scripts, readme with instructions, which looks like this. And some TypeScript configuration. Nothing important. So what we want to do today is just observe and learn from visually understanding what we're doing. So first of all, I definitely recommend at some point reading all of this, every single page over here, once you're ready. So like in the beginning, it might be too much information. It might be not clear what your questions are. So for now, just like just watch and learn how the very basics. And when you form questions of like, hey, I want to do like something very specific, how can I learn about how to do that? Well, then there's a place, you can search for things like this. Let's say the question is, hey, what should my project structure be? I don't know, we're talking about components. Where should they live? Well, we can look at this. We have project structure over here, and it tells us roughly that there's no absolutely specific requirement that we have to have a components directory like this. It could be a different name, it could be a different location. The point is that this is an example. It's idiomatic. A lot of people do it this way. I do it this way as well. But it doesn't have to be this way. So that's why when the project is created, we don't automatically have a components directory. It's something we can create ourselves. And I would say that sometimes it's a little bit scary in the beginning to be like, oh my goodness, am I going to create this directory in this place? But this is the freedom. We can do whatever we want. The goal, in my opinion, is going to be how can we do it in a way that is extremely simple for everyone to understand and change, right? So not just understand, but change. Because when we're talking about the website, we can spend a lot of time looking into like, okay, what do we want to componentize? What's reusable across the site, that kind of stuff. And my advice is, yes, spend some time thinking about how you want to organize things and how you want to build things, but nothing is going to be perfect. There's never going to be a situation where you thought about everything ahead of time. Even if you do, you will learn as a result of doing things and maybe change your mind. change your opinions on how you want to do some stuff. So priority is going to be making things easy to change over thinking through everything ahead of time. Okay, so I have this components directory, and let's do a basic component. And actually, before that, I want to just show you what actually happens when we do this npm run dev. And we can see, like, how do I know how to run this? I go to package.json. I have these scripts. Dev means if I type in npm space run space anything over here, it will run this command. And so you can see dev and start are the same. And we'll start with there. So I go to npm run dev. And now I have this project over here on localhost 4321, which I have over here. So this is actually what we have. We have a website running locally with simply just this page over here. And if I can go to the index over here, I can change this over here, and now I see that's over there, right? So great, we have a website. It's very basic. It's empty. Basics of components, right? So let's make a little hello world component over here. Hello the Astro. It's very common in like this kinds of stuff, these kinds of examples, to come up with hello world examples, because getting set up is probably a lot more complicated than using something that has a little bit more structure. So the first example most people do is a hello world example to feel comfortable with making a change and seeing the result. So here we go. We have a component, and we have these two lines over here, and these two lines are for I guess like I think they call it front matter, and it's for stuff that is not going to be visible to the user in the browser. It's stuff that can be used for processing purposes, code purposes. Over here, we have the HTML. So let's say we call this hello, and we want to have a message saying like hello, and we can say, so this is a plugin we have. It's called Copilot, GitHub Copilot. It's a ChatGPT integration, so you might see that it has autocomplete for me. Just for fun, let's see, like, if I can say, please make an Astro component that outputs hello world as a paragraph. Boom. Okay, great, fantastic. And now I can say, please make the world text a default prop, but allow the component to say hello prop. Let's see what that does. Cool. So not perfect, but let's see what we can do. So what is a prop? So we can say that a component can take in arguments. Prop I think came from properties, but the idea is like it's a parameter. We can take in arguments, and we can do whatever we want with them. So here we can say const like let's say message, or say person, equals astro.props. You can say it over here. We have person, and now we have a component that we can use. So let's actually use it by importing. So this is what we're talking about, like this for code purposes. I can now import a component. So I can import I can say hello from, boom, dot. It's not dot. Yeah, I think it is. Okay, it's declared whenever. Where can I find module? I made it lowercase. What's wrong with this? Cannot find the module. So dot means the directory above. So I'm over here. I'm in the above directory. Now I go to components. Hello Astro should be there, right? What is the deal? Well, let me just see if I run it in the browser, what will happen. It's working just fine. I wonder if I have to do something with TypeScript specifically. But regardless, we can say hello name astro. So this name is now the argument, but I didn't call it name. I call it person. So let's do this. Oh, okay. Could not import file. Software caused by typo and import fast. Please make sure the file exists, right? So hello component. Oh, components is a component. Okay. So sometimes ChatGPT doesn't get it right. Whatever. So now we have this component over here is being used. Hello astro. And if I change the person's prop, for example, I call this fellow. Now we can see over here, oh, you know what? I have to also do this thing where I define the type. So type props equals fellow string. I guess that's a little bit more complex for now, but the point of this is if I define my interface, if I define the shape of the props that I am accepting, then the benefit is that if I make a mistake somewhere else in the file or somewhere else in the project, I can just know, you know what, actually this is not, so let's read this. Type person string is not assignable to type props, right? And type person does not exist on type props, right? So, hey, we know we have a typo, right? And so, we can command click on this thing over here, jump to this file. Oh, we can see it's not person, it's fellow. And when we change it, we can see, boom, it's green, and we got it. Of course, we can say whatever we want over here, and now that will be that message. So we can see the basic of the component. It's basically a way for us to isolate and contain everything related to some piece of UI. For example, if I want to add some styling, some CSS to make this look different, I can say, okay, we have a style over here, and I can say, you know what, let's just do that. See what happens. So now it's different, right? I can say the color is now, royal blue. Boom, right? I can say it has a background of red. That would be bad, but here we go. So that way I can isolate the styles for this piece of UI, and it allows me to not worry about things like, having a massive style sheet, a massive list of CSS rules that would be hard to parse, hard to understand what piece of what style would apply to what part of the code base. And so over here, everything's kind of like one file. If I have one file, I have everything related to the behavior, the look, and the HTML of my component, which makes it easy for us to make changes, which is why I like components. It isolates me from making mistakes that would affect other parts. And I know that if I have this component, I cannot accidentally screw up something else and still have the project compile without type errors, right? So type errors will be like things that will prevent us from making mistakes, which are making it easy for us to change. Because if we make a mistake, we don't have to remember all the different usages of the other places in the code base. We just know that, hey, if we make a mistake, the code base will tell us, and we don't have to really remember that stuff in our head. Okay, so we have a basic component. It's not too impressive. We have some things to learn about what's CSS, what's HTML, what's TypeScript, what's this thing over here. Let's not worry about all these details. We'll learn what we need to learn later on. And the claim is we will not, initially, we're not going to work in these kinds of files. We're going to be working in page files. And you know what? If you say, how do I work with this? This is extremely similar to Contentful, right? Oh, you have a content type. What is that? It's this hello. And you have the data associated with it. These are the properties, the arguments, the parameters. We call them props. And instead of inputting this in Contentful, you would input it here. And if you wanted to rearrange this, say, you know what, I want this hello to be above the astro, I can just do that, right? And now it is above, of course. So the claim is that assuming we had all the components that we needed for this entire website, and all the data, all the content would be in these pages, right? All the pages we need would exist already. Then making changes and trying new things would be easy because one, if we want to like search for some content on the site, okay, I can search for Asian American contributions. I will search for that here. Boom, I'll find the page. I'll find the area that's relevant to the UI. I would spin up my local host. I would make a change. I would visually see immediately how that change looks. Maybe there's some learning. I'm not saying there's not going to be any learning at all. There'll be some learning as well. Like, hey, how do I do the basics of, searching my code and understanding like what is the red squigglies doing and what if I make a mistake and how do I overcome those things? There'll be some learning over there, but that learning will eventually subside. Like there was of course learning for using a CMS like this as well, but I would imagine that given the short feedback loop that we have here, it's going to be way quicker to learn, and you have much more confidence, right? And so, of course, we'll have questions and learn about what can go wrong, but we should be hopeful that we put the investment in learning how to do this. It'll be paying off quite quickly. And I'll leave it there for this video. And the next one will be creating, I think, this section. The header will be a little bit more involved. Let's start with something simpler, which I think this blue section over here will be simple enough, and we can think about how we do that. Okay.